Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Big Ten football predictions today, and our next team has just won 10 games the past 3 years, but returns 15 starters and are looking to get back to a bowl game. They are the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers is entering the third year of the Chris Ash era, which is usually when new coaches start to hit their stride, and he certainly has the opportunity to do that this year as they return 15 starters, including 7 on offense and 8 on defense. So by far his best team since he arrived at Rutgers just 3 years ago. On offense, they're going to be led by, more than likely, freshman quarterback Artur Sitkowski, who's going to be a freshman quarterback. And they have also their 9th offensive coordinator in as many years with John McNulty, and he should really benefit this Rutgers offense and go towards the benefits and the strengths of Sitkowski and some of the other players on this Rutgers offense. They return Eddie Lewis and Bo Melton at wide receiver and Jerome Washington, who was the leading receiver for the Scarlet Knights last season. They also return 3 offensive linemen, so that's going to be big for the Scarlet Knights this year. From a team that actually showed some promise on offense last year, never really had many close losses. They only had one loss that was by 7 or less, but still could show signs of improvement on the offensive side of the ball this year. On defense, they're going to be led by Kevin Wilkins and John Baitke, both seniors along the defensive line. Saquon Hampton, a senior in the secondary, and Deontay Roberts and Trevor Morris, both senior linebackers in that linebacking core. So more seniors on the defensive side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball, and that could certainly be the strength for Rutgers. And also Chris Ash being a defensive-minded coach, that's also going to benefit the Scarlet Knights defense. So they went 4-8 last year and are looking to really build on that and hopefully get to a bowl game this year for the first time, I believe, since 2014. They opened the season up against Texas State, and that should be an easy win for Rutgers here. Hopefully not like the Eastern Michigan fiasco that happened last year, which they lost 16-13, but should take care of Texas State, which would be a good tune-up, see where this team is, get Sitkowski in there and kind of figure out what he needs to do better, especially as they go to Ohio State the next week, but a good tune-up for these newer players and these younger players. On the road at Ohio State, I really don't see any way Rutgers is going to be able to go on the road and win this game. Yes, they're going to be more experienced, and yes, I think they should be more competitive, but Ohio State is Ohio State. They have Dwayne Haskins. They have Urban Meyer leading this Buckeye squad that is angry after missing out on the college football playoff last year and hoping to make a return trip. You've got J.K. Dobbins. You've got Austin Mack, a solid offensive line, Nick Bosa on the defensive line, and it's on the road. Ohio State, a very, very difficult place to play. I don't see any way Rutgers can go on the road and win that game, so a loss there. But they could go on the road and beat Kansas. So back-to-back road games, not ideal. But Kansas isn't the worst team in the world to play, but they do return 19 starters this year. So one thing that I think is interesting, if you thought 10 wins in the past 3 years was bad for Rutgers, try 9 wins over the past 5 years for Kansas. They have just had a horrible stretch of luck for a long time now. I believe probably about since 2007 for the Jayhawks. But they have 19 returning starters, 10 on defense and 9 on offense. They're going to be led by quarterback Carter Stanley and defensive tackle Daniel Wise. So obviously a more experienced defense and a more experienced offense. By far David B's best team with the Jayhawks this season. I'm actually going to give the Jayhawks the win here over Rutgers. I know some people might disagree with that. I like the fact that they're at home, and I actually like Kansas offense more so than Rutgers, but I like Rutgers defense a little more so than Kansas. So it's a mixture of both, and I'm going to lean, it's kind of one of those big toss-up games. I'm leaning more towards Kansas' way, just because I think they're going to be a little more hyped for this game. They've got home field advantage. They played a couple years ago, and it was actually somewhat close, a 13-point victory for Rutgers. So all things considered, I think Kansas is going to get this win, a close one, at home. Rutgers returns home to face Buffalo, which should be a win for them, but Buffalo, not a team they want to overlook, has a really good core of wide receivers and one of the better quarterbacks in the MAC. So certainly do not want to overlook Buffalo, but I think they get the win there. Then Indiana at home. This was a game also that I was really back and forth on. I was really struggling whether I was going to give the win to the Hoosiers, who beat Rutgers 41-0 last year, or to give it to Rutgers, who I know is more experienced. They're going to be at home this year, more fired up, and probably has a lot more talent than they did last year. And I actually went with that. I'm going to give the win to Rutgers. I like the fact that they're at home, and I actually do like this Rutgers offense more so than Indiana's. I think they're going to have a little more experience there, and I obviously like Rutgers defense more so than Indiana's as well, which as they only return 3 starters on that defense. So I think they're going to get a narrow win over Indiana here. And then another win here, a 3-game win streak for Rutgers over Illinois, who's really going to struggle this year. 16 returning starters on that side for the entire team, but just 5 projected starters that are going to be seniors. So this Illinois team is very, very young. So despite having 16 starters, most of these guys are freshmen, sophomores, sprinkled in a couple of juniors, and not many seniors. And Lovie Smith, I think, is set up for another pretty bad year at Illinois here, and he hasn't done much there in his 2 years entering year 3. They only had one Big Ten game decided by 7 or less, so I just don't see Rutgers losing this game, especially at home, to Illinois. Then the schedule gets tough on the road at Maryland, a team that I thought had a lot of promise last year, especially after beating Texas in the season opener. They have Casey Hill, Tyrell Pigrom, and DJ Durkin has done a great job with this Terrapins team. He's only going into year 3. Got him to a bowl game in year 1. Should have gotten to a bowl game last year had they not had so many injuries. This game on the road, as long as Maryland stays healthy, I think the Terrapins get the win here. If they have a bunch of injuries like they did last year, I think Rutgers can get the win. But right now, I'm going to go with Maryland. I'm going to give Rutgers a loss there. And then Northwestern, certainly a team no one wants to overlook. I was really high on them last year. I think they ended up going 9-3 or 10-2, somewhere around there. Clayton Thorson returns at quarterback, but they lose Justin Jackson at running back, one of the better running backs in the Big Ten from last year. They have a very, very strong secondary from Northwestern, which could not be good for Artur Sitkowski at quarterback. You know, if you're putting up a freshman quarterback against a really strong secondary, nothing compared to Ohio State or anything, but still a strong secondary at Northwestern, he could be set up for a mistake. Freshmen are always going to make some mistakes at quarterback, and that's always a scary position to put them in. So I don't really like Rutgers' chances here, despite it being at home against a Northwestern team that should get at least to 7 wins, 8 wins potentially, should get back to a bowl game nonetheless. It's still going to be a solid team. I think they get a loss here at home over there. And if Rutgers wants to get back to a bowl game, they're probably going to have to clinch bowl eligibility before their bye week on October 27th, which is a really tall order. They could do it. You got Texas State. Right now they're up to 4 wins. Maybe they could beat Kansas. That's 5 wins. Maybe they could steal one on the road at Maryland and Northwestern. It is certainly possible. But then after that bye week, look who they have to face at Wisconsin, Michigan, Penn State, and on the road at Michigan State. They did not play Wisconsin last year, but Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State combined beat Rutgers by a score of 110-27. Not very good. So they're coming off the bye week on the road at Wisconsin, by far the best team in the Big Ten West, should win that division and set up another showdown between Ohio State and Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. But Alex Hornibrook, Jonathan Taylor, all 5 offensive linemen returning for the Badgers. Another solid defense, as always, as we've seen for the Badgers these past couple of years. It's on the road. So despite coming off a bye, I don't see any way Rutgers is going to be able to go on the road and defeat the Badgers. Then Michigan, a team that beat Rutgers last time here 78-0. Certainly not going to be that way this year. Not even close. But this is a very, very strong Michigan team that returned 17 starters. Very strong offense with Shea Patterson and Donovan People-Jones and Karan Higdon and Chris Evans. The list goes on. And a defense that returns 9 starters that's going to be even better than they were last year. A lot of people criticized me last year for picking Michigan to go 8-4, but I actually got that record correct. And a lot of that I credited to the inexperience on the defensive side of the ball with only 1 returning starter. That defense played pretty well last year. Going to be even better this year with 9 returning starters. It is at Rutgers, but I like Michigan in this one. So another loss for the Scarlet Knights there. And then they have to win these last 2 to get to a bowl game. 1 at home, 1 on the road. Penn State, a team that I think Rutgers could maybe hang with a little bit because Penn State isn't going to be as dominant as they were last year. I remember they were just 2 close losses away from being an undefeated regular season, playing in the Big Ten Championship, and who knows what could have happened after that. They lose Saquon Barkley, yes. They lose some big-time defensive starters, yes. But they still got Trace McSorley. They're still going to have a solid backup running back and some solid wide receivers. And James Franklin is one heck of a coach. He's going to get the job done here. And unfortunately, another loss for Rutgers, and then another loss for Rutgers to close out the season against Michigan State. A team that I'm really high on this year in the Big Ten East, 19 returning starters, Brian Lewerke, L.J. Scott, Felton Davis, and then another solid defense with 9 returning starters there. Could be a defensive battle because I think this Rutgers offense is going to have enough talent to maybe hang with some of these higher explosive Big Ten offenses. And so you put up another solid Rutgers defense with 8 returning starters and 9 with Michigan State's returning starters. Maybe they can hang with them and keep it a low scoring and maybe hang with some of these Big Ten teams that have explosive offenses but not great defenses. I mean, you look at that. Penn State's going to have less starters returning than Rutgers is. So maybe they can hang with some of these schools to keep it close and maybe win some close games there to get to bowl eligibility. And like I said, I think if they want to get to 6-6 or better, it's got to happen on this stretch of the schedule. I really do see Kansas as a toss-up game. Giving the edge to the Jayhawks right now, wouldn't be surprised if it goes Rutgers' way. I really could see them beating Maryland or Northwestern as well. So this half of the schedule is set up where Rutgers could get to the 6-6 record and not even have to worry about these last 4 games, which I really am not giving them much of a chance in. But they certainly have the talent to get to 6-6 or better, but they're going to have to do it on this stretch of the schedule. So it'll be really fun to watch. I like Chris Ash a lot of respect for him as a head coach. He has the talent here set up for the future. Freshman quarterback, plenty of young players on this team that for maybe in year 4 he can get them to 6-6 or better if they can't do it this year. But Rutgers is certainly a team to watch. And maybe could surprise some people in the Big Ten and maybe crack that 6-6 record and get to his first bowl game as head coach there. But we'll have to wait and see. But 4-8 overall for Rutgers on the year. So we'll just have to wait and find out. But Rutgers is certainly a team that I'm excited to watch and see how things play out for them. So as always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.